The Ecosystems Conservation Lab at the Smithsonian Environmental Research Center studies ecosystem responses to changing global and human factors. But this year, COVID-19 forced some adapting for the summer RAU. Rather than meet in person, the RAU transitioned online with the goal to conduct a backyard experiment. But first, the three of us had to come up with one.
Why are the extras growing so much better? It's raining again.
Part of the challenge was creating a project where we could answer multiple questions through one design. We eventually settled on different but related questions: competition between plant species, nitrogen uptakeability in native Virginia plants, and finally, soil and plant species interactions. Now, we had to figure out how to combine them into one large experimental design.
Now, of these 60 pots, each pot will have some combination of 3 native Virginia species: sensitive partridge pea, Joe Pye weed, and Virginia wild rye. And now, when I say some combination, that means they can either be 2 of the same species, like here with these 2 sensitive partridge peas, or 2 different species, like in this pot, with this sensitive partridge pea and with this Joe Pye weed. What these pots and these combinations allow us to look at is to look at both the competition question and the below ground question. In competition, we can measure leaves or height and see how they're competing with each other for water or sunlight and see who's ultimately growing more. But we can also look below ground by taking samples for pH or microbial biomass to see which ones and how these combinations are affecting the soil. And later on, we'll take samples to measure just how much nitrogen is left over in these different combinations of plants in these pots.
Our experiment still has one more week to run before we begin to take our final samples. It took a lot of communication to get to this point. While this would have occurred in a typical experience at the SERC RAU, this was an entirely different type of communication. Everything from how to measure samples to even figuring out how to combine our 3 individual questions took time and effort. Many small but important details need to be figured out along the way through discussion with our mentors or early morning group meetings between the interns. It was difficult, but intentional meetings and perseverance allowed for this experiment to be conducted with only some slight setbacks by some enthusiastic bunnies. But the results of that communication and work are easy to see in the final project, and soon the results will be something we can calculate as well.